Hello, everybody. Welcome, Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're coming to you live with episode number 68. Number 68. Here we go. You're right, Amanda. Here we go. It is September the 26th, 2025, episode number 68. And we are going to be joined with somebody that happens to be a good friend of mine from the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office. We've been friends for coming up on 11 years now, and we're going to get in depth on the investigation that his agency and my agency actually worked together on. And that's that. I've been really excited about being here. Hello to everybody. I'm super stoked. I always look forward to Friday nights. I will forewarn you that I'm actually up to be the lead on the next homicide that happens in the city. So let's just hope that I make it through this episode, which I'm pretty sure that we're going to. I hope so. To tell you about I wanted to mention this. I'm a little marble mouth right now. I meant to mention this to everybody a couple of weeks ago that I wanted to thank the partnership of domestic violence. It's this organization. There we go. Domestic and Sexual Violence and Stalking Partnership Conference. Myself and another detective from the Family Violence Unit or Domestic Violence Unit, we went down there and we spoke and did a case study, and they welcomed us. They actually wanted us. It was sponsored by the Oklahoma Attorney General's office. We spoke there, and then the next 2 days that week, I actually went and was the speaker for death investigations and interview and interrogation for the Advanced Investigator Academy that was hosted by the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office, and it had several agencies that were located. Throw that picture of that class up there, Amanda. There was there you go. There was cops from all over, from the Sac and Fox Nation, Osage Nation, Sedgwick County, Shakota Police Department, and many other police departments were located in that area, and they joined us. It was a 3-week academy, and I was honored to be there as speaker for a couple of those days. So it was a lot of fun. My brother actually spoke at that thing too after me, and he wasn't excited about following me because my topic is much more interesting, trust me. But he is a dynamic speaker. Aside from that, today I learned I'll also be speaking in Indiana and Kentucky. And the Kentucky event, I don't have a definitive date on that, but I will tell you, for those that ask, I've already told you about the Arkansas the Arkansas event that's going to be November the 21st at the U.S. Marshals Museum. I will be speaking there. The doors open at like 6 p.m. You're welcome to come in there. There's like a meet and greet for an hour. And then a couple of hours after that, I will be speaking. Or it'll be for 2 hours after the first hour. I'll be speaking. And I know that a couple of people that are sitting in here tonight, Steph is actually going to fly down from, I think she lives up in Michigan. And then Phyllis from Virginia. A couple of the viewers are actually going to fly in for this. And so that'll be a lot of fun. A reminder, if you are watching this, try to like and subscribe. I appreciate it. I noticed that a lot of you have done that. Please do. And it helps with the algorithm. So like and subscribe when you're tuning into this, whether it be on Spotify, Apple. If you're on those, please leave a comment. If you're on Rumble, do this. It's a thumbs up. It's very easy. It takes you a micro of a second to do that, and we appreciate it. So I can't think of anything else that I really want to get into. Oh, I was going to say this real quick, and I wanted to mention this real quick, is that thing I'm going to be speaking at in Western Kentucky is going to be the second time I'm speaking at a domestic event. It's going to be for domestic violence, et cetera. Now, I know a lot of you are sitting around thinking, man, I don't know that I want to go to a domestic violence event. That doesn't sound like fun, but it's entertaining, trust me, and very educational. And one of the few times that I actually speak to the public. I think it may end up being at Bally's. I think we're looking at Bally's Casino there in Evanston, Indiana, which is right across the river from Kentucky. But it's for the Chloe Randolph Foundation, and that's what we're looking at. She just called me today. It'll probably be in early October of 2026. So if you're a civilian in the area and you're looking for something to do, we would love to have you drop by and see us, and it'll be a lot of fun. So let's jump to this. I want to introduce you to this guy. he has he's never done a podcast ever. And he actually has messaged me a few times. And today he called me during the afternoon and he was like, I just want to go through this again. And I said to him, I said, hey, John, there's no need to be nervous. And he's like, hey man, I'm not nervous. But I do appreciate, and I don't think he really is, but I do appreciate the fact that he wants to know what's going on because he wants the best product that he can give you. Basically, he works for Sedgwick County. Sedgwick County is where Wichita, Kansas is. Tulsa is the 47th largest city in this country, and Wichita is number 48. So that gives you an idea of the size of the major city that he lives at, and the county that he patrols is the surrounding area. John Gill started working at the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office as a commissioned sheriff's deputy in March of 2003. He worked in a variety of assignments since joining the department to include major crimes, which is where I came to meet him, and during a homicide investigation that actually started in Tulsa, believe it or not. Then we had a double. Then they ended up having a homicide up in Kansas. They're coming down here to try to do some research. Things come together and we start thinking, oh my gosh, there might be some connections here. And then that's where we started working together, and their case was really difficult, which he's going to dive into. It'll be a lot of fun it'll be really interesting actually. So that's how we came to meet him. And that's where our teams joined up and we worked together, which was incredible. And, basically, we'll talk a little bit about his journey on that department and how he fights crime and how he suppresses evil, etc. And right now he is a sergeant over the investigative unit there at the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office. So let's bring John on. How you doing? Welcome.
Hey, thank you.
This is an international, I mean, for your first podcast to be a part of. And technically, you could call this a radio show, too, because we have KGRA, Digital Broadcasting, puts it on out of Utah. But this is big, man. We've got people that watch from Australia, all throughout Europe and Canada and South America, everywhere, believe it or not. And, of course, our biggest viewer is the United States. But welcome. I appreciate you being here, buddy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I wanted to let everybody know that we were supposed to have another guest, Amanda Owen. Amanda Owens. I wanted to mention that. And she ended up having a family emergency that came up, and John was Johnny on the spot, no pun intended, but he joined us. He was able to join us. I contacted him a couple days ago, and that's why he's here. So tell us, John, what made you interested in the world of policing, and what led you to the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office?
The first thing that comes to my mind is my brother. My brother is also a lieutenant for our agency, and he kind of was my inspiration. And the next thing I knew, 23 years flew by. So that'd be my best answer.
And while joining the police, you're a native from that area?
Yes, I am. Mostly, yes.
Okay. And after joining this police department at Sedgwick County, just to briefly tell people, what is the difference between the sheriff's office and a police department?
Well, generally a sheriff's office is going to be smaller. You ultimately work for a elected official who's elected by the citizens of that county. There's more, I guess, functions that a sheriff's office has to perform, such as civil process. The sheriff's office is completely in charge of the county jail, which is a big deal, especially here. And a police department, you work for a police chief, ultimately anyway. And usually police departments are larger and more urban. We tend to be somewhat rural, but also there are urban areas that we handle also. Right.
With Sedgwick being the huge hub, I'm sure it's a big city. And so from there, you get on the department, and just kind of tell me what your progression was throughout your department. Because you're one of the rare, I mean, it's pretty rare, isn't it, for a deputy to just go straight to the streets? Or does maybe it's not, I don't know. I know some agencies, they make you go to the jail first.
I think here at Sedgwick County, it's a good thing if you do that. I did not work at the facility, that being the jail. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But You can go straight to the streets. I mean, especially if you have prior experience, college degrees help, things of that nature.
Okay. And so you joined the department in 2003, and in joining the department, kind of tell me what your journey was from that point forward until you are, where you're at today as a sergeant in investigations.
Sure. So I started on patrol. I worked the night shift for around 7 years. And then I did a rotation in investigations that I really enjoyed and kind of got the investigations bug, I guess. I got promoted in 2009, went and worked some narcotic stuff, worked some general crimes for quite a while. And that's during that 10 years when I met you, obviously. About 3.5 years ago, I got promoted to sergeant, and I went back to patrol for about 3 months, and then I got transferred to investigations, where I am now as a supervisor.
And what is the population that you patrol? And it roughly, I'm not going to hold you to the number exactly.
So Sedgwick County is around 525,000. The city of Wichita is around 400,000. So it's not a small area. It's very comparable to Tulsa, I think.
Mm-hmm. And how many deputies do you have, or sworn people do you have on your department?
Commissioned deputies, about around 220. I don't know how many people work in the jail, but around 220 commissioned.
Okay. So it's a reasonably sized department for sure. It's not, just to kind of give you I'm trying to think of another department that might be about that same size. It's a good sized department. Nevertheless, you guys drive all over the place. I mean, that's probably a pretty big county area that you patrol. And so, I mean, do you have any idea how big that is?
1,008 square miles.
Okay. So in comparison to Tulsa, we patrol 196.8 square miles. So we're about 20% of the size of what you deal with. That's a big area. Huge.
Well, most of that is comprised of the city of Wichita, though. So that's just the Sedgwick County in general. So
sure. But if you did want to patrol in the city limits of Wichita, are you prohibited from doing that, or you're allowed to do that?
We have jurisdiction anywhere in Sedgwick County. So
okay, you go.
Yeah.
All right. And then the other thing that I'd kind of talked to you about previously that I was interested in is BTK, just to kind of make mention of that briefly. Yeah. I'd asked you, I said, did BTK ever strike in the Sedgwick County area?
He did. He did at least once that we know of anyway. And I gave you a good contact, and hopefully he can come on here sometime and present his, his presentation that I saw. It was really good. But yes, he did murder one person in Sedgwick County.
And he did reach out to me today. So hopefully we'll be able, So I appreciate it. If you reached out to him, I appreciate it. So if you want to even explore, John told me, he goes, hey, by the way, they're hiring here in Sedgwick County for both the jail and to be sworn or commissioned to be a commissioned officer out on the streets. So if you're interested in that, go to careers.sedgwickcounty.org and see what they have to offer. I'm sure it's pretty comparable to what we offer here, other than the fact that you better have a freaking jacket, because let me tell you something, John, it gets like measurably cold when you get to your area, buddy. It gets cold here, but it's a whole nother level of cold where you're at. So be prepared for that. And if you're good with the cold, then it might be a good fit. All right. So let's talk about, all right. So you're going through your career. You've done all this stuff. Let's talk about basically this homicide of Mr. Childress and kind of start us out and telling us what happened, how you guys found out about it, and go from there.
Sure. This incident happened on February the 15th of 2015. So we're north of 10 years ago. This case started out as a 911 caller that was driving on a rural road. It's 69th Street North in Sedgwick County. Basically, for reference, It's about 6 miles north of Wichita State University. A rural road, dirt road. Somebody's driving down that road and they call 911 and say, hey, I think I saw a body on the side of the road. So some deputies go out there. I don't think they missed the perpetrators by much, really. They go out there and they find the victim, Dale Childress, laying on the side of the road. And he's been violently assaulted. Obviously, he's been shot 3 times in the face and head area, and also shot in the back. So I've also worked on cases here locally that are body dump cases where you may have a scene somewhere else and the body's dumped in the county. We could tell right away that this was not the case just based on the amount of blood that was there and some of the other evidence, shell casings and things of that nature. So my supervisor at the time called me. I went there to this scene. And before I forget to mention, this is not a me case at all. This is a concert of people working together here locally, and our lab was fantastic on this case. And I think you'll agree as we go on, but he was, as I mentioned, shot several times. And he was right in the middle of the road. There was nobody tried to conceal him, which they probably could have done. But what we started noticing right away, and this is where our lab did a fantastic job, were some tire impressions. And if you'd asked me before this, are tire impressions, worthy of anything, I'd have said no way. That's not going to work, type thing. There's also some auto glass very close to his feet that's been broken, and recently it looked like. So our lab processed this scene. They also collected a orange crush bottle that one of the lab investigators thought was kind of weird. That was just in the middle of the road. They thought it was weird, and they had the intuition to collect it, which was awesome. And would later bring this whole case together. But this guy, Dale, he had no ID on him whatsoever, no cell phone. He had basically a crack pipe and a lighter in his pocket. He also had a turnpike toll booth ticket from down in your area at the Hallett Plaza, which is on the Cimarron Turnpike as you're going right into Tulsa or coming right out of Tulsa.
Mm-hmm. To the west. Yeah. The other interesting thing about this scene is that in his pocket of his jacket that he's wearing, there's also auto glass, small shards of auto glass in his pocket, which indicated to us that he was probably standing when whatever glass was broken. And I mentioned the shell casings that were there, so we knew that it happened there. And again, our lab did a great job documenting this scene. They took really good photos of these tire impressions that become really important in this case later on as time goes on. Well, let me ask you this, John. Let me ask you this real quick, John. Based on what you're kind of saying, where you're talking about how it looked to you that he might have been standing. So what do you surmise might have happened leading up to this shooting?
So in retrospect, after we've investigated this and as time has gone on, at the time we thought maybe he'd have been standing next to the window and somebody shot him from inside the car or something. We didn't know. Now I think he was standing in the doorway of that car is what I think. And I think that my personal opinion is he was shot in the back first to basically to subdue him. That's what I think. Based upon interviews and based upon some other stuff that we've done later on in the case. Yeah. So we documented that scene very well, but we had that turnpike toll booth ticket, which we knew was going to be a key in this case from the beginning. And I basically went out to the scene and looked around for a while, and I didn't think that this case was going to have it. I didn't think I was going to be involved in this case. but myself and Detective Knoll, who worked with me, and you know him as well.
Oh yeah.
So they asked for volunteers for somebody to go get video of this turnpike incident. And so we were the ones that raised our hands and say, yeah, we'll get up first thing in the morning and we'll go down there and get this video. And once we got down there, we got called from Wichita and they said, hey, this thing is connected to some Tulsa stuff. You guys need to go to Tulsa right now and contact this detective. And so that's when things really started ramping up. So we did. We went to Tulsa and met up with your esteemed colleague, Detective Zanoni. And he kind of informed us what we were dealing with at that time.
Yeah. Yeah. And just a reminder, this is in February. And so we had a double murder that happened on Thanksgiving Day here in Tulsa in 2014. And it involved these two young ladies, Amanda Douglas and Jennifer Suter. They both were gunned down at an apartment complex located in East Tulsa. Both of them had been killed. And just to kind of give a little bit of our background, just slightly, is that they observed what appeared to be a black male walk up on the two females, and the individual was seen getting into a gold Pontiac, possibly a Grand Prix. And the vehicle left the complex and then went to the north from there. And that's kind of what we had. Strangely enough, I actually owned a Grand Prix. So I was like, yep, that's going to be a 2004 to a 2006 Pontiac Grand Prix, because mine's an 05 and it was the same body style. It's just that one happened to be a gold one. And so that's kind of what we had to deal with on our case. And I'll leave it at that, because I want you to now. So go from here. You end up calling one of my old senseis, Detective Zanoni, the master of homicide, and you call him up. And what does Zanoni tell you? Kind of what the link is? Well,
so he basically talks about this double murder that you guys had down there on Thanksgiving in 2014, and he strongly suspected that a guy by the name of Larry Douglas was involved in these murders. And, you know, he was right. He was 100% right. He said, there's no way that Larry Douglas went up to Wichita, Kansas and killed Dale Childress. He had somebody else do it. And he was 100% right, you know. And so I forgot to mention that Turnpike toll booth ticket. There was a phone number written down on the back of that thing, and it was Oklahoma City area code. And that was one of the first things that we did once we got to Tulsa was we, sent off for phone records of that phone. That's a very important part of this case too. Okay. So we talked to Zanoni about these double murders here. They actually, during the course of this, and I'm looking right now at your guys' briefs that you send out on major cases, and there's actually like a little locate thing on Dale Childress, which is our victim here in Wichita. Like your people were out trying to find him and talk to him because they thought he may have had something to do with this double murder in Tulsa, or at least he might have been a witness. I wish that he would have or that we could have located him then. That's just not how things turned out. So,
I think I think that, I think if word had gotten out that we were looking for him earlier, it's just that we didn't know about him until up until this point, really.
Yeah.
And had that happened, I think he would have been killed probably in Tulsa, if truth be known.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. But so this is the interesting part as we're going here. You really had nothing. So when you hear from Zanoni, that had to give you a little bit of excitement because, essentially you've got one of those whodunits is what we would call it, where they're very difficult, especially now. Did you have him ID'd relatively? How long did it take you guys to get your victim ID'd?
It was within 24 hours. I know that. So once they ID'd him, there was some link to the Tulsa case somehow, and that's why they sent us to Tulsa. And I forgot to mention too that the Turnpike video that we received from that Hallett Plaza kind of gave us a little bit of what we were looking for. It looked like we were looking for like a green or dark colored, possibly Buick. And so we were able to at least get some sort of a vehicle description. Our agency released that and said that, hey, we're kind of looking for this car or whatever. Because frankly, I don't blame them. We really didn't have a whole lot going on at that time. We didn't know, where we were going to go with this thing. So we knew what kind of car we were looking for, which is a good start, I guess.
Amanda, get ready to cue that video up. But go ahead, John. That first video. But John, go ahead and she'll. I just wanted to have that ready for us here in a minute. Go ahead, John.
So we did get the phone records back from that phone number off the back of the Turnpike toll booth ticket. We got those records back, and we started looking at, all right, who was in contact with this phone number around the time of the murder? We want to talk to whoever that is. And we had a Tulsa number that was in contact with that phone that seemed something about it seemed kind of weird. And we just really didn't have anything at that point. We were out of leads and didn't really have much. And I just cold called this number from my cell phone. And I'm not going to say her name or anything, but a female answered my call. And basically I told her who I was and what I was doing. And she agreed to meet Detective Knoll and I at a local McDonald's there in Tulsa. And I had said to you today when we were talking that I didn't want to forget that, I learned a lesson on this case. Well, I learned several lessons on this case, and one was never to underestimate anybody, and this is a girl who was a criminal, that lives and probably still lives in the Tulsa area. And I would credit her hugely for this case getting solved. Noel and I talked to her at that McDonald's. We sent the recording back to Wichita. We got a transcript, and she basically identifies our killer. We had to work. She had a street name for him. We had to do some work, but she led us in the right direction to get there.
Incidentally, how did she know that?
She was familiar with Larry Douglas. I think she worked for him. I think she delivered dope for him. I think she did some other criminal stuff for him. She was familiar with the players, and she knew Dale, who was killed up here. She knew him. And she knew our suspect, who his name is James Marshall.
Yeah. What was James Marshall and Daryl Childress's, what was kind of their roles, or what was their friendship, so to speak, with Larry Douglas? So
based on our investigation, these guys were foot soldiers for Larry Douglas. They were delivering dope for him. They were obviously killing people for him. And they basically just worked for him, whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And that's just two of them. So there's other people that were involved with Larry Douglas as well. Larry Douglas is quite a prolific criminal, and when we get to the end of this, obviously we can say that he's behind bars, and that's the best place for him. I think you would probably agree with that.
I do. Actually, I'm writing something down because something just dawned on me about Larry Douglas used to deal dope out of an apartment where I have an unsolved murder from like 2011. So I'm like, okay, make note of this. I need to look into something. So anyway, see, just by brainstorming here, you never know what might come from it. That's good. And I've heard that before, but I need to do something with that. So nevertheless, so here we are. You've talked to Tulsa. You've gotten some information now, but ladies and gentlemen, it takes a lot more than that. I mean, she didn't see this happen. By the way, when you guys went to that toll booth, or you got the video from the toll booth and it told you a little bit about the car, were you able to gather any information in reference to others in the car? by chance?
No, just the driver. The driver looked like he was wearing like a checkered flannel because, as you said, it was cold. It's when this happened. It looked like he was wearing some sort of a checkered flannel like jacket. But we still didn't really. I mean, we thought maybe it was a Buick, but we didn't know 100%. If that's what it was. So after we interviewed this girl at the McDonald's, she gave us a name of Pops, P-O-P-S. And I think she might have known exactly what happened, but she didn't want to say it, so she just wanted us to figure it out. And so she basically told us that that he was robbed at some apartments there locally in Tulsa, and he got shot in this robbery. So that's nice because there's going to be a case number associated and we can identify who this guy is.
Right.
You would know exactly where these apartments are, but I don't remember what side of town they were, but we obviously spent some time there. So we identified this Pops guy as James Marshall Jr., and he has previous convictions for armed robbery, drugs, and I found out, was a suspect in a brutal cold case homicide out of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Spent some time reading that case too, but so on the 26th, so 11 days after our murder here, and I must say also, we received so much support from your office. It was amazing. Margot was extremely instrumental in helping us in this case. She answered phone calls from us late at night and helped us because our people aren't going to have your databases, so yeah. But we identified him and we went to a residence in what's north of you? Owasso. Yeah. We went to Owasso where he lived, and there was kind of we got him, type moment. When we went to this house in Owasso, his car wasn't there. And Margot found that he had a green Buick that was registered to him. And when we went to the house in Owasso, which we had so much support from your guys' warrants team, other detectives, we contacted some of his family members there, and I don't want to say which ones they were, but we contacted some of their family, and they were extremely cooperative with us. And basically, James Marshall was not home at that time, so that I felt like they could talk a little more freely. Mm-hmm. I asked them about this green car. I said, do you know where this green car is? And they said, well, James took it somewhere because it wasn't working appropriately or something. And so it was gone. It wasn't there. And so we interviewed another family member there that said, hey, that Buick was here a couple days ago. I went to take out the trash, and the back passenger side window had cardboard over it. And so at some point during this interaction at this house, I went outside into their front yard and I called my captain, who was my captain at the time. And I said, I think we got this thing. We're getting there. It was a good moment for us. But we didn't have the car. So one of the things that I remembered about this case the most was James Marshall did show up at this house while we were there. He pulled into the driveway, and I remember walking out and talking to him, and I said, James, my name's John Gill. I'm a investigator with the Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office, and I'm here to talk to you about a murder. And he physically collapsed. They had to call EMS for him and everything else, and we took him down to your guys' office. And
what was he driving when he pulled up?
I think he was driving Larry's red Dodge Charger.
Yeah,
Larry Douglas.
Yeah. That rings a bell.
Yeah.
Before we get any further, hey, Amanda, throw that video up real quick.
Yeah.
New details in the death of a man found in Park City. Tulsa police say the man is connected to a double murder in Oklahoma. Kexley Wu tells us what we know about Dale Childress.
Well, Jamel Dale Childress was named in a Tulsa search warrant last month in connection to the death of two women. The 56-year-old was found dead in Park City over the weekend. Childress was named in a search warrant last month in connection to the shooting deaths of 37-year-old Jennifer Suter and 26-year-old Amanda Douglas outside a Tulsa apartment complex. Sedgwick County Sheriff deputies are trying to find out how Childress got to Park City, but believe he was shot where his body was found. Deputies have finished searching the area where the shooting happened. Now, the sheriff's office is still asking for your help with information in this case. If you saw anything suspicious on Sunday between 5 and 6 p.m. on 69th Street between Oliver and Hillside, call the Sheriff's Investigations at 660-5300.
Yeah, and before you move from that moment, or where you were going to start up again, Amanda had asked, what was the reason for basically the two females getting murdered, and that, like I said, that happened on Thanksgiving. So this is like 3 months before John's case, or their case up in Sedgwick County, and really you got to remember Amanda Douglas was the wife of Larry Douglas, and they shared children, and there was a domestic assault. And this is the intel that we were getting, is we looked this up, and there was a domestic assault that had taken place. They were currently separated, and this court case was on the verge of actually going forward. And we believed at the time that he didn't want it to go forward, and so he wanted to probably have her killed. Essentially, that's what we were suspecting anyway. And what we did on our end before that we get to that, just to kind of give you a little bit more that kind of ties this thing together a little bit, is we started looking around all over the city for this gold Pontiac Grand Prix. And lo and behold, we happened to find that there had been a Pontiac Grand Prix stolen from an open garage in far south Tulsa. We looked into that. This guy was, I can't remember. I want to say that this guy was all over the place. We had a feeling that maybe he might have known somebody, and it could have been like a rocks for ride is what we would call it, where basically somebody just takes their car and maybe gives them a little crack cocaine, and then they take their car. And that's what we were suspecting at the time. Well, anyway, we knew kind of what kind of car we were looking for now. Gold Grand Prix stolen. Gold Grand Prix pulling out of this parking lot after a murder. So we think we know the car that we're looking for. And it just so happens that Ronnie and I, patrolling in deep East Tulsa off of, we're pretty far out east near Eastland Mall, if you're listening from Tulsa. And we happened to come across this car. And somebody, we didn't know if anybody was in it. We didn't know if it was somebody was in an apartment. And so we ended up sitting on this car for several hours. I mean, it probably was 5 to 6 hours. And then finally, one of us, it wasn't me or him, one of us got out. I can't remember who it was, but somebody got out and walked past the car, and they're like, "Hey, this car's burned." And so, so we looked a little closer, and then we determined, somebody dumped it here, and then they tried to burn it up, and they weren't completely successful. But so now we know this is going to be the car associated with this murder. At least that's what we're believing. We think that this is going to be the case. Now, so that gives you a little bit of context. And then the other question real quick, was this covered on the first 48? Yes, it was. I think it's called, do you know the name of it by chance?
Chain of Death.
Chain of Death. Okay, so if you're looking to watch it, you can watch Chain of Death, season 19, episode 1. And you can watch the full episode of this. But let's go forward here, because you're getting a little bit behind the scenes of what really was going on, a little bit more than what you see in the television episode. So where are we at now?
So I interviewed our suspect in the Childress murder at your office there in Tulsa. And he basically admits to being in Kansas is the furthest that it goes. And he denies any involvement, but he admits being in Kansas. And then he finally says, look, I'm going to lose everything I have. I'm just going to stop talking. Most innocent people don't say things like that, but what we did get from that, it was his phone. We got his phone, and we got a search warrant for his phone, and Detective Knoll was very instrumental in that. And we started seeing the biggest thing that we saw on his phone was he was doing the morning after our murder here, he was doing searches for auto glass, which was huge for us because we knew his auto glass was at our murder scene. And so I didn't know how to approach this, so I started randomly calling like glass repair shops in Tulsa. How many of those do you think there are, you know?
A lot.
A lot. And finally I got a hold of a guy, and I don't remember which company he worked for, but he said, hey man, I'm not trying to tell you how to do your job, but there's 2 glass distributors that push out glass to these smaller shops in Tulsa. There's only 2 of them. And he said, call them, and here's the part number, by the way, that you're looking for.
Wow. What a huge help that was.
Yeah, he was awesome. So we tracked down an auto glass outlet there in Tulsa. And of course we got video and linked that place to fixing James Marshall's window on his car. So things were going pretty good at that point. So
yeah, rocking and rolling up until what news did you get coming around the corner about, did he have any idea where his car was at? Was that one of the questions that you'd asked?
Oh yeah. And we wanted to charge him here locally then. And our district attorney said, look, you need to find this car, you know, and I have no issue with that, you know, and
right.
we really tried. But on March the 9th, here locally, one of our intel people ran a offline search through the FBI for this vehicle. So in other words, if the tag was ran by any local law enforcement, if the VIN was ran by anyone, it'll say, okay, this agency ran this. And we got a hit that the Dallas Police Department had run the VIN on this vehicle. So that was weird. So we called Dallas PD and said, hey, where this vehicle is involved in a murder, where is it? And the detective I talked to said, you're not going to like this. And he said we recovered it burned.
Yeah.
So people are burning cars in your case, and people are burning cars in our case, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And there's a reason for it.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, it's a connection. And that's why we were really excited about it. Even though it's burned, that's a piece of circumstantial evidence, you know, and it tells the story. And so anyway, did he ever in the interview, just out of curiosity, did he ever mention to you why he was in Kansas, or
No.
if he ever was in Dallas or that area down there?
No.
Well, you didn't know the car was even down there. I'm sure he wasn't going to point you in that direction.
No, he wasn't. And what happened with that car was they took it to Dallas and they parked it in a massive apartment complex. And this apartment complex, if you live there, you have to have a little thing hanging from your mirror. If you're a guest going to visit someone, you have to have a guest thing hanging from your mirror. Well, they just parked it in that parking lot. There's no thing hanging from the mirror. So they contracted with an impound company to come pick up the car. They picked up our car that was involved in the murder. And obviously that's going to cause the impound company to contact the owner, James Marshall. And he actually went and picked it up in Dallas. He went and gave him his ID and everything else to pick up the car. And within a few hours, that thing was on fire.
Yeah, yet another piece of evidence, circumstantial evidence. That's interesting. So from there, where are we at now at this investigation?
So we were on the road. We got on the road and went to Dallas, and Dallas PD was great too, man. They were awesome. we went to their impound lot where this car was, and we kind of struck gold there too, even though it was burned up. I think what happened was it was burned in a muddy area. And so when the tires popped, they sank into that mud. And so the bottom of all 4 tires was preserved. And they were is a virtual match to the tire impressions at our crime scene. And basically awesome work done by our lab to even recognize that those things were something, because I would have just said it's nothing, go on, but they knew that this would be big, and it turned out to be big. In Dallas, we found where the car was burned. We did a bunch of stuff there in Dallas, but the actual bumper was still there at the scene where the car burned. Collected that and drove it back to Wichita. But basically, the case, that was kind of it.
Well, hang on. Let me ask you this. What about the right rear window? Was there any remnants of that, or was this fire so significant that all the windows were just destroyed? They
were all destroyed. I mean, trust me, I looked inside the car. We actually did a search warrant and searched that entire car in Dallas. But our local district attorney did charge James Marshall with murder. And at some point, we had at least one hearing here locally where some of the witnesses from Tulsa came and testified. And when I say that's it, that wasn't necessarily it. I think really that's kind of when the case really started getting some steam. James went through the court system here, and he ultimately got sent to prison here in Kansas. I think he got a 17-year sentence, which I don't agree with, but that's not up to me to decide. He went to prison here, and one of the things in this case that was very interesting, I thought, was at some point in time I contacted the U.S. attorney in Tulsa, and I contacted our local U.S. attorney, who I have a great relationship with, and they said, "Hey, we'd love to help you, but you need to go talk to this Tulsa office. This is where this is all occurring." And so I saw a federal case all day long on this because we're crossing state lines and burning cars, and there's dope involved, there's murders involved.
Yeah.
And so Noel and I, we went to prisons and jails all over the state of Oklahoma and interviewed associates of Larry Douglas. And some of these people, the interviews that we did, there was one female that we interviewed, reported that he raped her, females that transported drugs for him, other people that did just committing crimes for this guy,
Why? I mean, really, what makes him this kingpin, so to speak? Because in looking at him, I mean, when you just look at this guy, and I'm just when you look at him, I'm just trying to figure out what it was about him, if that made all of these people be willing to go to great lengths for him.
Jason, I think I have a really good answer to that question, and that is, we some of the time, as we spend over in what you guys call it, the city, Oklahoma City. We spent some time over there because there were some connections there. And there was a dope house that Larry was running right in the middle of Oklahoma City, and Dale was his doorman. And we found that out through interviews. So obviously we did it kind of like a little mini neighborhood there too, and the very next door neighbor, she was great. She gave us an interview down at the Oklahoma City Police Department, and I just fanned out photos, of all these people involved, of Dale, Larry, and all of these people, and she identified them all. She identified James Marshall. Yes, I've seen him over here. I've seen Dale Childress, and when I showed her a picture of Larry Douglas, she wouldn't even look down at the photo. And she asked me, she said, "Do you have him yet?" And I said, "I don't have him yet, but I'll get him." And she said, "When you get him, come back and talk to me, and I'll tell you everything you need to know." That's what kind of guy this guy is.
Yeah, a lot of fear. A lot of people that were afraid of this guy.
Yeah.
And so what happens next in this case?
So this case was turned over, or not turned over, but the federal government got involved in this case. The Tulsa, the U.S. Attorney's Office in Tulsa saw merit in this case, and it was ultimately assigned out to be investigated on a federal level. And the thing about this is this case, that the way I look at this case is this is a lot of people working together for a good cause. It was your office. It was my entire office. Even though they weren't with us there, they were working here too. And when the federal government got involved, the federal government did its job. Mm-hmm. And basically, they filed a writ to bring James Marshall from prison here to Tulsa. And basically told him, hey, look, you're going to get charged with all this stuff that Larry's going to get charged with. And he cooperated. And James Marshall, I actually interviewed him about this murder, and he actually cooperated. And shortly after that, they sent him back to prison here in Kansas. And we were able to find out what happened here in Wichita based on his interview. And that was important to us, because we knew we had a good case on this guy, but we didn't know why he did it, or what was going on. So somewhere out here, and he told us that he threw the gun somewhere out here in Sedgwick County. There's a Glock 9mm that I sure would like to find.
I mean, we still don't know where it is.
No, we don't have the murder weapon. But he told us he threw it out somewhere out here, or in the north part of Sedgwick County. But that was kind of key. And then there was an awesome U.S. attorney, an awesome agent of the government. I don't want to say the name because I haven't talked to him about this. But Larry Douglas ultimately got indicted by a grand jury, and he basically pled to the kingpin statute. The federal government has it. I'd never even seen or heard of a kingpin statute, but it's pretty telling to read his plea of guilt. And I have it in front of me. It's pretty awesome, actually. But
before we go there, hang on real quick, John. Yep. I don't want to miss this part. So just to I know this is a little convoluted because we got his case, which really we had our ideas about Larry. We really did. And so just to kind of give people context here, Zanoni, of course, this is his case. He knows the inner workings of it. But in our office, we certainly had ideas that Larry was behind, or at least the decision maker. I mean, his wife got killed, for God's sakes. Mm-hmm. And when she got killed, he really didn't act too upset, number one. And number two, he started mentioning stuff about an attorney, which is pretty, unusual when usually you're like, what? Where is she? Where do I need to go? As opposed to, I'll call my attorney and I'll be in touch. Right. It was something like that. Yeah. And so, and he ended up coming up there if memory serves. But the reason what I'm getting at is when we found that burned up car, we did find some things inside of that car, right, which proved to be interesting. And Amanda, throw that picture up that's inside that store. If you can find it, and hopefully I sent it. I thought I did.
Was it the Quick Trip one?
Yeah. I think it's a Quick Trip photo, Amanda, if you see it there. And I may not have sent it. I hope I did. But yeah, it's inside of the store. All right, I'll send it to you here in a quick second. So essentially what happened there, sorry about that. Sometimes I make a mistake. What happened is based on this photo, we were able to get, let me find it real quick because this is going to drive me crazy. Go ahead and say what you were going to say, and I'm going to find this photo. I don't want to keep up time, but go ahead and say what you were going to say at that moment. Hey, when you said that James Marshall was cooperating, what did he tell you happened out at the spot off that dirt road?
Basically, he told us that the night before he drove our victim Dale into this area and tried to kill him then. But his gun malfunctioned, and we have evidence of that, cell phone evidence that he did come into this area the night before. He told us that he went back to Larry, and Larry gave him another gun and told him to go kill Dale and throw him in a wheat field in Kansas. He was trying to separate himself from your area, basically, because he'd already killed those girls, and he was trying to separate himself.
Yeah, and the second girl, by the way, that second girl that happened to be killed, she just happened to be she was killed because she knew the wife. She was at the wrong place at the wrong time, and she just happened to be hanging out with her that day, and that's why she ended up getting killed. I don't think I'll be able to find it in time.
Very unfortunate.
Very unfortunate. So what we determined in our case is that there was a young man by what's his name?
Quantel Alverson.
Yeah. So we get Quantel Alverson, and we are able to link him to a Quick Trip. And the Quick Trip is actually the Quick Trip that's just north of where the double murder happened. And also in that video with Quantel is Larry, who we believe to be Larry Douglas. And it's your guy. It's the guy that's dead. Your guy. Larry, what's his name?
Dale. He was there.
Yeah.
He was there too. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have Dale. Just to kind of make this to paint this picture. You've got Dale in the Quick Trip. You got Quantel Alverson, who's the guy that we believe is the double murderer, and then you've got Larry. We think it's Larry because he's really careful about protecting who he is, but it looks like it's going to be him. And the three of them are together in that store. And that's kind of what happened. And so essentially what I believe happened, and Z, if Z was here, he could tell you a lot more. This is kind of like a career case for you, and it's kind of a career case for Z, so to speak. Out of all the 129 cases he had, this is one of those that really stands out. He hated it at the time, I'm sure, but we all kind of did. But now you've got the connection, you've got the association, you've got all this going on. What led us to that store, I think we found some gummy bears or something inside of the car or something stupid like that. And what we can do with a store is you can basically search, okay, well, what did you guys sell at the store that day? And we found that he had made a purchase. So essentially at the end of the day, he did a double murder for like a package of gummy bears or whatever they were. And I think a promise of, it was some ridiculous amount. It was like $500 or something. It was something ridiculous. Do you remember do you even know? I can't remember what it was. It was something stupid.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
And so they offered him basically, even after he was convicted. He ended up getting convicted. He would not talk. He was a definite ride or die. He's one of the ones that I have. Did you ever talk to him afterwards or make attempts to talk to Quantel?
Man, I thought about it, but I never did. It must be mentioned also that from what talking to Zanoni, Larry Douglas's ex-wife was putting money on his books at the Tulsa County Jail. So there's that connection too.
Yeah, on Quantel's. Yeah, I remember that now as well. And yeah, I mean, they offered him, a more relaxed prison environment, but he wasn't a taker. And so he ended up getting life without parole, ×2, and probably to run consecutively, which means that he doesn't get out ever. And he never talked about it. I don't know where he's at exactly right now. I assume he's in a pretty rough prison, or it's one of those maximum varieties. But he was a young man when he did this. I think he was 25 years old. And he was yet another, I think I'm going to call him a crash test dummy that basically was just one of those. And let me, the other thing I want to add, let's go back just real quick. When you're talking to Marshall, did he ever indicate that there was anybody else with him when this happened? Or I might have asked you to just kind of go through that again. What was going on? What did he tell you about how this went down? I know you said he threw the gun or got rid of it.
Yeah.
How did this go step by step at that car on that dirt road? So
one of the things that I can take away from talking to him when he finally did talk was, and you, Jason, probably seen this a lot more than me, but there are some things that a criminal will never admit to, and especially acts of cowardice, things like that. I think he shot him in the back because the round that He was shot in the back, and the exit wound was through his stomach. And I think that's what broke that window. And I think that's what caused the glass to go into him. At that point, I think he was immobilized. The coroner said that shot alone would have killed him. And then he was shot in the face and head multiple times. Of course, he told me in the interview that was a accidental discharge is what you and I would call it. He said that he didn't mean to do that, and he's full of shit, in my opinion.
Yeah, an accidental 3-time trigger pull.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe he felt bad for him because he was in such pain that he just wanted to make sure that he didn't suffer. So, but nevertheless, and I know that there was some suspicions that Larry Douglas's son might have been with him on that little trip.
Yeah. So I didn't address that. That was one thing that he was very clear when we talked to him, and he finally started talking to us, as he said, "I am not going to tell you who was with me," and that was disappointing.
Well, no, you know what that is, John? That means there was somebody else with him, and I have a feeling we both know who that might be.
Yes.
So, yeah, and there's a reason why I am not going to tell you who else was with me.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, because if it had been just anybody, maybe out of the fear of this individual. So now Larry ends up doing all the, does he plead guilty, or does he get found guilty in the federal system?
No, he pled guilty, and I think that they were going to come at him with life if he didn't plea, but he did plea, and basically there's 2 counts to his that he was charged with. And his plea of guilty was that he was selling drugs, lots of drugs in the Tulsa area, that he was engaging in lots of criminal activity in the Tulsa area. A lot of the people that we interviewed in the jails and the prisons, prostitution was a big thing with this guy. And then in count 2, he basically addresses the murder of Dale Childress up here. And he said he employed Dale Childress, and that Childress fell behind in payment for drugs, and that he told James Marshall and directed James Marshall to take care of it. And he also, in his plea, says he knew a firearm was going to be used, addressing his concerns with Mr. Childress. Yeah, I mean, he basically confessed to a murder and never even came to the state. So.
Yeah, and another quick question is was there any ballistic comparisons or any matches to the murder from Wichita to the double murder here in Tulsa?
I don't know that we ever looked at that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you guys run NIBIN or what you guys do there, but I mean,
yeah, we do. We do. I do, and I think we do, and I would think that NIBIN wasn't quite what it is today.
Right.
That might be worthy. You know what? I might look into that when I get to work. That's kind of an interesting thing. I don't even remember the caliber, to tell you the truth. It might have been a different caliber, because I think if it was the same, we would have been all over that. So
yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, I mean that's homicide 101. So I think it was a different one. I want to say it might have been a 40 actually. That kind of stands out to me.
That's what I was going to say. I thought it was maybe a 40, but after 10 years go by, we're warranted to forget a few things, I guess, huh?
Yeah. So basically, here's what the deal was, ladies and gentlemen. This is kind of what happened. Larry Douglas wanted his wife dead. Okay, that's basically it. And the reason why is because he didn't want to go to prison and for this domestic situation. And probably, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he probably had fear that his kids were going to be taken away from him. And he's not the child support kind of paying guy. Okay, that's not what he had in his wheelhouse or in his future. He didn't really want to be a part of that. So what does he do? He enlists this crash test dummy by the name of Quantel Alverson. And who helps this along is Dale Childress. Mm-hmm. And so when this ends up happening, and then he starts getting wind that the Tulsa Police Department is starting to narrow in our search based on phone records and this and that, and we're starting to knock on doors. We're starting to find people. Word is getting out. And that's when Dale, and I can tell you for a fact, we were looking for Dale. Mm-hmm. And Dale, the word gets out because we're knocking on doors, etc. And that's when Larry's going, we can't have Dale be the weak link here. And that's when he enlists another trusted employee, and that being your guy, Mr. Marshall. And then Mr. Marshall probably goes, "Hey, bro, we need to go up and we need to go do a job up in Kansas." And that's where he gets him out of our state into your state, into that area, and then he kills him. And that's where we're at. And then now we're going to start covering our tracks because the cops are right on our heels at this point. And so, Amanda, throw up that video real quick. I want to mention, hang on a minute, Amanda, that second video. But before we get there, I got to tell you, John, kudos to you guys. We kind of built, all of us in our office, and most of the people that were even in the office at that time aren't there anymore. There was unfortunately, John Brown passed, and you called me immediately thereafter. And I appreciate that. We appreciate that. We had, Mark Kennedy, myself, Zanoni, most of the young Jedis that are in our office today weren't around then. But man, I'll tell you what, you guys lived in Tulsa. All this thing was going on, man. Or commuting daily, and in the midst of doing that, I couldn't imagine. It was like you guys were an extension of us and vice versa. We were both working each other's cases as if it was our very own. And I don't remember what the heck I came across on a jail call, but it was something pivotal. I just don't remember what it was. But even then, I mean, we were listening to the jail calls. We were doing this. We were doing that. Everybody was jumping in, and I cannot think of a better example of how teamwork makes the dream work. And this is two agencies that had never worked together in recent time. I'd never seen Sedgwick County running through there. So Amanda, your sheriff came and he did something that I thought was a real class act, and I thought your department was a real class act for doing this. Amanda, play that next video.
Also, police detectives solved more than 90% of their murder cases, and they unfortunately had a chance to put their impressive solve rate to the test last week after 9 bodies turned up in 8 days. And they're not just helping solve murders in Tulsa. 2 Works for You reporter Darcy Jackson explains. Darcy.
Well, Brian, Sedgwick County Sheriff Jeff Easter says he knew it couldn't hurt to call TPD for help with a murder, but he says that help was overwhelming, and detectives lived up to their reputation.
Good job.
An award that symbolizes hard work and camaraderie.
Sometimes those bigger departments are like, hey, we got our own caseload, see you later type stuff. We never got that out of Tulsa.
For detectives, they help seek justice wherever they're needed.
We look at everyone as a challenge, and we throw everything into it.
Sedgwick County, Kansas Sheriff Jeff Easter drove all the way to Tulsa to honor these homicide detectives. They helped solve the murder of Dale Childress, a Tulsa man found dead outside of Wichita last year.
Their guys did it. We just kind of went along for the ride and make sure they knew what road to take.
Busy is an understatement for these detectives who've already solved 8 out of 9 homicides within about a week. So far this year, the loved ones of 96% of the city's victims have answers.
There's a lot of underlying factors. I mean, there's the warrant unit, the patrol function, the analyst, the surrounding communities. Everybody's playing a part.
And others outside of Tulsa are starting to take notice and spreading gratitude for hard work that's making a difference.
Just a top-notch police department, and Tulsa should be very proud to have a department like that they can call their own.
Now, detectives say Childress had been identified as a possible witness to 2 murders back in 2014. That's why he was already on their radars. Quintil Averson is serving 2 life terms for those murders of Jennifer Sudar and Amanda Douglas. Reporting live, Darcy Jackson, 2 Works for You.
Yeah, that was a very, very nice thing for your department to do, and it's a lesson to those that are out there to that was just really nice, and we were very grateful. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're in here tuning in because you're a killer or you're thinking about killing somebody in the future, and you came in to tune in to get just a little education as to how we do it behind the scenes, let me give you a little insight. Today, the technology, just don't even think about it. Because can you imagine, John, if we would have had some of the technology back 10 years ago and look where we're at today? You know what I mean?
Yeah, LPR.
Yeah, we would have been all over this in short order. Trust me.
Oh, yeah.
What else can you share on this, or anything else comes to mind? Is there any possibility down the line? I mean, if we were to, I'll just put it out there like this. Well, let's say maybe we could find out who else was with your Mr. Marshall there. I mean, who knows? Mr. Marshall might have a moment where he's got a weakness and he thinks, you know what? I've got cancer, and maybe I've spent enough time up here alone. Is there a chance that possibly somebody else could be charged in this later if we got some evidence?
I think so. I mean, I wouldn't rule out Larry Douglas being charged here locally. That should be my mission as a cop before I retire, is to make sure that guy never gets out of prison. So he's still got more time. I'm not in a hurry at this time. He's locked up. Yeah. And also just, I said it a million times on this case that I would hope that if some people from another agency came into our office here locally, I would hope that we would get half the treatment that we got from the Tulsa Police Department. I mean, you guys threw everything aside and threw everything at this case. The same, I would say, for Oklahoma City also. Those guys were awesome. Guys and girls were awesome.
They're rock stars down there.
Oh, yeah. And Dallas PD was great. We worked with a really good detective down there. So we really appreciate it. And there was something here recently where we ran down a thumb drive to Margot on a case or something. We just put some stuff together, and that's a good relationship that we have,
Yeah, we do. We really do. And I'll tell you what, I got to say, out of all the other times that I've worked with other departments, for the most, I mean, I would say 99% of the time, man, it's everybody will jump through hoops for you, and they'll just do whatever you need. And you're right about those guys down in Dallas. Of course, all the ones that I knew back in the day, I don't know any of the young guns now, but the Scott Sayers the Scott Sayers and Jim or Duggan and all of those guys, man. I mean, the list goes on and on. And those guys, oh my gosh, yeah, all of them, man. They would work it as if it was their own, and they'd walk through fire for you. And you just can't. That's a lesson to you if you're listening. You never know when you might need somebody else down the line. And I always try to do that for everybody is I always extend that, hey, if you need something in the state of Oklahoma, you can reach out and we'll see what we can do to help you. And if we can't do it, we'll find somebody that can. So anyway, man, John, I'll tell you what, it went by really quick.
Yeah.
What do you see in your future? Just to kind of, are you good where you're at, or do you have aspirations to maybe, continue into a different area? Is there anything that you haven't done on the department that you just like, if they could just give you your dream job, or maybe you're there right now, or if the opportunity to go back to the major crime section, is that something that you would even entertain?
I'd entertain anything, that my passion is investigations. I just really like investigating things or supervising investigations, whatever that may be. I serve at the will of the sheriff, and wherever he thinks that I need to be, then I will perform. So that would be the best answer I have on that. So I saw somebody put up on here that more departments need to work together, and that's 100% right. We're the only people that work in borders, law enforcement. Mm-hmm. Criminals don't work within borders; they travel. Obviously, as this case shows.
Yeah,
so
that's
put that up there. You're right.
Yeah, and if you're a chief or you're a person that has the checkbook, there is an expense to some of these cases. I mean, you can't, and your department. I'll tell you, that's the one thing that really stands out to me in this case. I could tell 100% that your department didn't care about what it cost. You were going to go wherever you needed to go, and it wasn't a question. And maybe I'm wrong.
No, you're not wrong.
Okay, I was going to say, don't tell me.
No, you're not wrong. We had support, and I put a list of things together that you need to work on a case like this. And the first thing that I put on there is a committed command staff. And you have to have buy-in and, you can't throw a case like that into a drawer just because the guy's a criminal. You know, I've given this presentation several times to a lot of different groups, and I gave it to a Citizens Police Academy group. And a guy, after I was done, I basically said, does anybody have any questions? And the guy in the back row raised his hand and said, you said this guy was a criminal. Why did you care about this case? And I said, because somebody killed somebody on a street that I'm responsible for the safety of. You know, I was offended that he asked me that, basically. So it was a great case as far as I learned a lot. So, and we got to meet some great people along the way. So
yeah, you're right about that. Friends for life, buddy.
Yeah.
We definitely have a friendship from departments and personally. So it's been really quite a ride. And so he does speak. If you have a conference somewhere, a law enforcement conference or whatever, and you may be interested in the presentation version of this, don't hesitate. He certainly wanted to bring your attention to the Officer Down Memorial page. That's we had asked him, hey, you have a website or whatever, and he's not a selfish person. He's like, no, I want to bring people's attention to the Officer Down Memorial page, and make people aware of what's going on out there with these officers. And if you go to that page, Amanda, throw that link up if you've got it handy. If you go to that page, I'll tell you what, with the Officer Down Memorial page, there it is. That's the website for that. If you go to that, it tells the brief synopsis of all these different officers that get killed in the line of duty, and it's really it really is eye-opening. Trust me, and I think a lot of people need to be aware of what's going on out here in the world and the sacrifice that these police officers make, etc. It's getting better, hopefully, but we are living in a crazy time too. So, listen, man, John, I don't know. Is there anything else that you have as final words or any words of wisdom to the young Jedi detective out there that you're like, hey, if you could tell them anything, that this is what you would tell them? Because, you know, you're 23 years, right?
Yep.
And, you know, these younger crop of detectives, they're different. It's a different generation of people. So what would you instill on them if you could?
You know, if you want motivation to do your job, you just think about your community where you live. Your family and friends live there. They commute on the roads. They go to your stores. They go everywhere else. You should not need any more motivation to do your job than that. We don't need criminals out here running the streets because they're a danger to our families, our friends, and our community. So that's what I would say, man.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Thank you, John. I appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you to your wife, your new wife, relatively new wife, for letting us borrow you tonight. Thank you for your willingness to come on here with just a couple days notice. And I knew it would be fun, and it was fun. You did not disappoint. And so I'm sure we'll be in touch in the very near future. Hang out. Don't click off just yet. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for being here. I cannot thank you enough. And yes, for those of you that said, yeah, that's really cool that Phyllis and Steph are going to join me in Fort Smith, Arkansas at the U.S. Marshal Museum. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And hopefully we'll have a sellout. If you're interested in going to that and you're normal and you're not a crazy person or whatever, I don't think that you're going to be in this house, or in this room. But if you're normal and you want to catch a cool, entertaining event, then it doesn't cost much. I think it's $10 or something like that. And I think it was a great show, Danny. Thanks for that comment. I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody. This is episode number 68 with John Gill, one of Sedgwick County's finest. And I wish you a safe career, and hopefully if you ever need us down here, you know that you can reach out anytime.
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, seriously, thank you all very much. Next week, episode, I don't know. We're going to see. I really want to have Amanda Owens to come on here, the sister, where I want her to come on here and I want to tell her sister's story, which is a no-body homicide case that we were able to bring her justice. It's a fascinating story. Hopefully she will be able to join us, but if not, it's going to be Sharon Phillips from Channel 2 News here in Tulsa. And I already interviewed her, but it's a great episode. It really is. And we have a few more coming up in the near future. Hopefully we can get that BTK guy on here, and hopefully he'll be able to join us, and many, many others. Is going to be great. Ladies and gentlemen, I won't keep you any more on this Friday night. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your comments. Remember, like and subscribe. Check out the merch in the store. Tell your friends and family about it. And hopefully you guys enjoyed tonight. Until next time, take us out, Amanda.